next port of call is Old Trafford, so I'm back on my home ground, if you like. And I would always expect and suspect that Old Trafford will spin at some stage, and particularly if your weather is absolutely right and hot and baking the surface, it will spin. It didn't. I think they could have played on it for 3 weeks and it just didn't spin for finger or wrist spinners.
You've won it. Yeah, we'll have a bet.
Hansi, you've won the toss. You're going to have a bat. Was that an easy decision?
Oh, it looks a good track. It looks as though, you know, it's very little grass on it, and probably be best in the first 3 or 4 days, and try and make the best out of it today. Try and get a good score, and then hopefully it'll take a bit of turn as the game goes on.
Came back to Old Trafford. Not the best pitch to come back on. I obviously wasn't 100%. I'd not been bowling much. I'd only played 1 game against Cambridge University. And I wasn't obviously bowling at my best. I mean, it takes a while to get into a rhythm, but the selectors wanted me to play, and obviously I wasn't going to say no. I was raring to go, and I played in that game, probably not 100% fit.
Oh, what a beauty. That is his classic delivery, the one right up in the block hole, removing just one of the 3 stumps. Never goes overboard about it. Liebenberg is on his way. Didn't quite get that. It'll give us an idea of how fast the outfield is, or how fast the ball will go across it. A bit faster than Gus Fraser.
Well, Gary Kirsten, he's obviously done very well in the first class game over here, but had struggled up until that test match in the test series. So we're just looking to bowl in the similar areas that proved successful for England. On this occasion, obviously he battled well. He got a 200. He said it's possibly one of the worst innings he'd played. To me, he played exceptionally well. His concentration was magnificent. And though he may have edged a few for 4 here and there, he never actually gave us a chance. And full credit to him for the way he batted.
Going over the line, and in the process allows Gary Kirsten to reach 50. 52 not out.
With Jacques Callis, more of a stroke maker. At times he can take the attack to you, and at times he did. But what was good, we still maintained just a run rate. They maintained a run rate of just 2.5 and over, which I think over a total of 500 plus was a very good effort. Obviously, the idea is to take 10 wickets, but we weren't quite up to that.
That's well struck. There's a long chase here for Mark Ramprakash. And not quite making it. Brave effort again.
Well, he's given that a clatter. That might well be 6. No, it's 4. That's a lovely shot. That's a beautiful shot. And that's a century. Off comes the helmet, up goes the arm. Great jubilation for Jacques Callis, who scores his 2nd Test century. Acknowledged by the whole crowd here at Old Trafford.
Yes, that's a difficulty when you are bowling slowly. You've got to be so precise with the length. If it's just a little bit short.
And he gets it off a short ball. Good 100 from Gary Kirsten. We can underline that he hasn't been in the best of form in the major matches, but he's been making runs at the level against the counties. Good performance. Short and wide and 4.
Well, that's a way to celebrate your 100, isn't it?
Absolute Bobby Dazzler. Darren Goff has ripped one through Jacques Callis's defence, and that takes some doing because Callis has made 100 and he was in beautiful touch again today.
We were just trying to take wickets at the same time, but once they got over sort of 400, it is quite difficult to stay in the game in trying to win it.
No problems there. That's going to be 4 runs to Daryl Cullinan.
Great shot. Another attempted quicker ball, but a flashing blade outside the off stump. That's the very best of Daryl Cullinan. Brilliant shot. Line this time. Crashed away outside the off stump. Just a little wide from Angus Fraser, but it's the 150 comes up for Gary Kirsten. What a fine innings.
He's got that in the air. Robert Croft down at long leg, can't get to it. And 6 runs.
That's a good shot for 4. Golfer has tried for the Yorker, and it hasn't got up quite far enough into the block hole. Finished up a nice long half volley.
That's a good shot. Finds the gap. But there are 2 men out deep on the onside. There's one of them. Dominic Cork. And he's home. And up goes Kirsten's back, because that's 200. A double century. He's delighted. He set off, I'm sure, only for 2 runs. And then they saw the possibility of the 3rd, and jubilation for Gary Kirsten. Really has been the rock on which this innings has been built.
That's a huge hit. That's certainly come out the meat of the bats.
That's beautifully placed. There are 2 men out in the boundary in front of batsman. There's the declaration. 550 was the point at which they were aiming. Hansi Cronje has reached that by smashing one away over extra cover. 552 for 5, a big score. South Africa there in their first innings.
We stuck to our task well, 500 odd they got, and then we discussed about our first innings quite a few times and how important it is in 5 days to, you know, to get a first innings score, especially against South Africa, to put a bit of pressure back on them. But again, we were bowled out.
Well, they're asking the question, and Nick Knight has walked. It was a nasty delivery from Alan Donald. It was straight, short and quick.
That was very, very well bowled. The batsman couldn't do anything about leaving it go. He tried to get his bat out of the road in the end, but it really needed a stroke, a defensive stroke, to be played at it in the first instance, and that's a superb effort. Oh, that's well bowled and given by the umpire. The batsman has waited. Now has gone. But Mkaya Ntini has struck, caught by Boucher, diving away to his right-hand side again.
There wasn't enough in the wicket to be able to say we'd have followed on, and certainly shouldn't have been bowled out for 180 or whatever it may have been. But saying that, the extra pace that they have on whatever surface you play on certainly does make a difference.
Well, it did the trick. Previous delivery had swung away from Alex Stewart. Whether or not that was in his mind for that one, we'll never know.
When you've got 500 on the board, you can come steamrolling out, and with the likes of Donald and people like this, and it puts pressure on the side batting second. You have to get 350 just to avoid the follow-on.
That's all over, and in no uncertain terms. 2 standing, 1 down. That's the stumps. And Graham Thorpe makes it onto the field for the first time today. We'll have to see how inconvenienced he may or may not be by his back problems.
Unfortunately, with this back problem, basically he couldn't move. And it's obviously a big blow. One of our frontline batters not being able to bat to his full potential was a blow. He did very well to go out at number 9 anyway. He could hardly walk, as people saw in the first innings, and second time round he was struggling even more.
That's off the glove. Yeah, it's a sad end to the day. Just looking for something round the corner to keep in the strike.
That is simply not good enough. South Africa have steamrolled them with batting, bowling and with fielding.
Put it politely, not too impressed with things. You know, we hadn't featured in the game, to be honest. They had the better of it with the bat in the first innings, and they'd just about rolled us over in our first innings by the end of the third day, and that's certainly a worry. So we had a chat Sunday morning. A few home truths were told. The players knew that we hadn't performed in the game so far. And one of the main things I'd said was, look, you know, we've got to keep fighting. If we give up, we may as well go home now.
Alec gave us a bit of a stirring speech on the Sunday morning, and told us all to look at our own games and you're playing for England and that sort of stuff.
We've got a lot of people to play for. You're playing for your country, and we've got to make sure we put in a better show second time round.
That's out. Well, just fencing outside the off stump. And Mark Boucher, once again, the chance comes, he makes you look very easy indeed.
Bowl him, and deserved to bowl him. A succession of wonderful deliveries, and Nasser Hussain is comprehensively beaten.
I mean, again, Alan Donald, the new ball, 11 for 2, not ideal. But you always back your players. You know, Michael Atherton's done it before, and he'll do it again. He's an exceptional player, and he showed in this game, certainly in the second innings, what a top quality player he is. And it was nice to think that the two of us could put on a substantial partnership.
Well, I think as a batsman, I mean, in that particular game, Alan Donald bowled as quickly as he had done throughout the series. At that point, he actually bowled quicker in the next match at Trent Bridge, but gradually as the series wore on, he was getting quicker. So from a batsman's point of view, you just have to dig deep, and the new ball period in the second innings was the crucial period of that test match. If we'd have finished the fourth day 5 or 6 wickets down, we were dead in the water. So to only finish 2 down with myself and Alex Stewart still at the crease gave us a fighting chance for the next day.
I may be more of the attacking player, and he likes it to back time at the crease, and it's worked well whether we've gone out together as an opening pair or with me batting down the order. We've still been able to put on some runs, but no, we're used to batting to each other. We understand each other's games, and we've done it. You know, we've played 80 test matches coming up together, and I think, you know, if you haven't got an understanding by then, you never will.
It's most important that you play your own way. You play how you've got runs before. You know, that's how Alec and Athers got runs. You know, they just played how they normally play. Athers knows his limitations, he knows where he's going to score his runs, and he'll bat for you all day.
Absolute perfection. Atherton quick to get on the front foot to the quicker bowlers, lovely bending of the front knee. And again, just over pitch. Now you can't blame Klusner for this. 2 excellent falls because he's got 3 slips in there.
Well, that is perfectly timed. It's also 50 for Michael Atherton. And in the circumstances, he allows himself nothing more than the gentlest of smiles, knowing full well that England is still deep in trouble here, but he's played very well.
That's a classic. Beautiful stroke from Atherton.
At the back of my mind as well was that if we do score runs, then we will get up to their total, and again that will take time out of the game. We knew we weren't going to win the game, we just had to try and save it. One of the ways was obviously just batting right the way through till Monday evening, and the other one was trying to get up with their total, so that if they had to bat again, they then had to chase a target. And you know, I try not to play too many false shots, but at the same time try not to lose my attacking instinct. I think some thoughts went through their minds of Athers' Joburg innings of a few years ago. That must have gone through Hansie's mind a few times. But no, when we put on 200 or whatever it was, things were going quite well. But we still knew we had 5 hours of cricket left. And when Michael got out at midday on the last day, there was still a lot of cricket to go. And it certainly was by no means saved by then.
And this is another one. He caught it. What a wonderful catch. And Teeny is the catcher. Well, happy birthday to him. My word, marvellous catch. It was threatening to drop short of him. The trap was set, and Michael Atherton, alas, fell for it.
You can single people out, yes, but it was a real team effort to just grit your teeth, backs to the wall. Now, come on, we really need to come out of this game. Not you as 11 players, but us as a team and us as a country really need a result here, and the only result we can get is to draw the game, and they'll throw everything at you, and you've got to be absolutely ready for it, and to be able to give a bit back and stand up and be counted, etc., etc. We were up for it, that's for sure, because there are a lot of sort of careers, if you like, that were on the line in that situation.
That's a fine shot. There are two men out there, and once again, the secret of that stroke was its marvellous control.
Yeah, he's always going to go for it.
It's in the air. In the air. Straight down the throat. Well, Geoffrey Boycott has predicted the demise, and Lance Klusner had been pushed back just at that ball. So it's the end of a very valuable innings from Alex Stewart. That really is the perfect Yorker from Alan Donald. You can do without fielders for that sort of delivery. No wonder they're overjoyed. So an unfortunate pair for Graham Thorpe. And he'll make his way off very, very slowly back to the physio's couch. It's back on the stumps, it's bowled him. The defensive stroke beaten by the spin of the ball. It's rolled off the face of the bat, picked up a bit of extra spin and rolled back onto the stumps.
Well, they weren't great thoughts again. You know, we just come off Lords where we had a horrible collapse, and as you say, we lost 3 pretty quick ones. But again, I'll back the boys. Robert Croft, who's worked exceptionally hard at his batting, and Darren Goff can do anything with a bat, good and bad.
I just had the impression with the naked eye that might have gone past the slip fielder, Darryl Cullinan, on the full.
Well, that's very close. That is close, and it's out. Doug Cowley took his time, but that's the perfect start to this final available session of the match for South Africa. Ramprakash gone for 34. Has that carried? Yes, it's the very safe hands of Brian McMillan. He's onto the substitute fielder. He's one of the world's best slips fielders. And if it carries to him, he doesn't normally miss them.
But at tea time, straight after tea when we lost them 2 wickets, and I was walking out of bat, and my batting record for England over the past couple of years has not been the best. So people probably were packing the bags and expecting a defeat.
Well, it's got to be a Yorkshireman and a Welshman that saves the game for England.
But I hung in there. Obviously, a couple of times where I wanted to play a big shot, I had to keep stopping myself and thinking about we could save this game. And I batted for quite a long time. I don't know exactly how long or how many overs.
Goffey came in and played a great knock, batted there for an hour. Never really thought early on we'd really see it through, but you know, we just kept telling each other, come on, keep playing, you never know what can happen. And Goffey stuck out there for an hour.
They are very valuable runs. 350 comes up for England. A 2 and a 4 in this over so far from Paul Adams. Four runs, very valuable.
Well, we have a thing. We've been in that sort of situation before, so we all know what we're doing. If you get stuck in a position where no wickets are falling, you have to stay there. So me, Athers, Thorpe and Dominic Corker in the back room watching it on a TV in a little almost like a cupboard it was. While Goffey and Crofty were together, we were sort of sat watching it. I think Dom wanted to go to the loo about 3 times, but we wouldn't let him go.
Well, he's got him round the wicket, the bouncer. and it's been played away to short leg, and now there's more drama. Darren Goff has lasted for a long time, over an hour. 78 minutes in all for 76 balls. Finally Donald gets him, caught at short leg by Kirsten.
And then it looked like we'd saved it, and then obviously Goffey got a good ball, and it was up to Angus. Now, Angus was already on a king pair, which he'd been reminded of, for 2 days. So I decided, right, it's time to move now. So I went out on the balcony and sat next to a very, very nervous Alex Stewart and David Lloyd.
They really need now is Robert Croft to hit a boundary, so that South Africa have to bat again. They can just hope that the last wicket pair can then build on that a little. Well, it won't quite go for 4. He should only take 2.
Then Gussie came in and he said, well, Donald's bowling 90 miles an hour, but I said, yeah, but he's got a nice action to try and pick the ball up from. But Intini came out of the house at the back, and it was a little bit difficult.
You're part of the team. You're willing the boys on, but you can't do anything about it yourselves. And again, I was backing them to do the job. But it certainly was nerve-wracking. I think I was probably falling off my seat by the end, certainly on the edge of it.
Fraser have just got to survive one more over, and they could happily walk off, knowing that the game were drawn.
A few shouts there, but it would have been caught off the head or the shoulder. Nice little back heel for someone to smash it in the top left-hand corner of the net. Brave defence. One ball to go in this Donald over.
And the last ball, the old in-swinging Yorker, we couldn't see him. We're just hoping it was offline and all looking at the umpire when they went up.
Well, I did have a little bit of a quiver, I must say. The knees went a little bit, but you could see once I looked up and saw the angle at which Boucher had set himself to take the ball, then it was a very good decision, because the ball obviously was going to miss legs.
Robert Croft and Angus Fraser have seen it through, and that was a wonderful last day. Great performance from England to get out of the game after it looked at one stage to be a foregone conclusion for a South African win.
It was good to be able to contribute something to the team, and to go out there for 3.5 hours or something like that. It was great to come through it without losing my wicket.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was more like we'd won the Test match. It was amazing. I mean, you saw the delight on Alex's face when he ran onto the ground, and I mean, you thought we'd have won the Test match, but we realised then that was the turning point, and we're still 1-0 down with 2 to play, and we can still win the series. And we thought that was the turning point.
Yeah, I mean, Crofty was going to come in and brag, and luckily I had a 4-hour journey ahead of me back to Essex, so I quickly had a quick drink with him, patted him on the back, and left. Otherwise, I'd have had all this Welsh spirit and leave it to the Welshmen and the big fat lads done well, and thanks to Graham Gooch and all this, we'd have had all the speeches. So
yeah, it's quite nice. I mean, I remember the old days of Barry John, Gareth Edwards and Phil Bennett, when it was great when Wales rubbed England's nose in it, but this time it was quite nice that a Welshman actually helped to save England a little bit along the way. But you can't forget the knocks that the skipper played, Alec and Mike Atherton as well. They set it up the day before, and it was up to us to try and hang on, and thankfully we did.